Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Y&R Trends. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. On Monday, December 29, 2025, Genoa City awakens beneath a suffocating cloud of dread as the final days of the year drag every buried sin, every whispered lie, and every dangerous alliance into the unforgiving light, beginning with Victor Newman standing alone in the Newman Enterprises boardroom long before sunrise, staring out at the city he built with a look not of triumph but of calculation, because even the great Victor knows something is slipping through his fingers, something darker than corporate warfare and deeper than family betrayal, and as the minutes tick by, his phone lights up with a single message that makes his jaw tighten, 3 words that change everything. It's already started. While across town Nikki Newman wakes with a pounding headache and a sickening sense of déjà vu, flashes of broken glass, sirens, and a voice she can't quite place echoing in her mind as she stumbles into the living room and freezes when she sees a folded police report on the coffee table, unsigned but unmistakable, listing her name under a line that reads person of interest, sending her spiraling into panic just as Victoria Newman arrives unannounced, her expression cold and unreadable, revealing that the walls are closing in faster than anyone expected, and that someone inside the Newman family has already begun talking, though she refuses to say who, leaving Nikki shaken and defensive as years of guilt threaten to resurface. Meanwhile at Crimson Lights, Sharon sits across from Nick, her hands trembling as she finally admits that the anonymous tip sent to the police wasn't from an outsider, but from someone who knew the family's secrets intimately, someone who knew where the bodies were buried both figuratively and literally, and Nick's anger erupts as he realizes that the enemy they've been fighting might not be Victor, might not even be Adam, but someone far closer to home. Someone who has been smiling at family dinners while quietly setting fires behind the scenes. And as Nick storms out, Sharon is left alone with the terrifying realization that telling the truth may cost her everything. At the same time, Adam Newman stands in the shadows of the parking garage beneath Newman Media, replaying a voicemail from Chelsea that warns him not to trust anyone, not even Victor, because evidence has surfaced tying a recent financial scandal to a shell company Adam once controlled, a company he swore he shut down years ago, forcing him to confront the possibility that someone has resurrected his past to destroy him, and when he confronts Victor later that day, the tension between father and son reaches a breaking point as Adam accuses Victor of sacrificing him yet again for the sake of the Newman legacy, only for Victor to deliver a chilling response that suggests Adam's troubles are merely collateral damage in a much larger war, one that will leave no one unscathed. Elsewhere, Phyllis Summers watches the chaos unfold with a dangerous glint in her eye, because she knows more than she's letting on, and as she meets secretly with Jack Abbott at the Abbott mansion, she reveals that the evidence shaking the Newmans originated from a source neither family saw coming, a source tied to a long-forgotten incident involving stolen data, falsified records, and a cover-up that spans decades, forcing Jack to confront his own role in a history he believed was buried. And when Diane unexpectedly overhears part of their conversation, her face drains of color, as she realizes that her carefully reconstructed life is once again in jeopardy, setting the stage for an Abbott civil war that threatens to rival the Newmans' collapse. Meanwhile, Billy Abbott spirals as he uncovers proof that his own reckless decisions from the past have been manipulated to frame him in an ongoing investigation, pushing him toward the edge just as Lily tries desperately to pull him back. But when Billy receives a call informing him that someone has turned state's evidence and named him as a co-conspirator, his world shatters, leaving Lily to question whether loving Billy means drowning alongside him. Across town, Devin Hamilton grapples with a devastating betrayal as he learns that confidential information from Chancellor Winters was leaked from within his inner circle, and all signs point to someone he trusted implicitly, forcing him to interrogate loyalties while Lily's divided attention leaves the company vulnerable to a hostile takeover that appears suspiciously well-timed with the Newman crisis, suggesting a coordinated strike that could permanently alter Genoa City's power structure. As the day wears on, Mariah and Tessa confront a horrifying truth when a suppressed report resurfaces linking a recent tragedy to a deliberate act rather than an accident, reopening emotional wounds that refuse to heal and raising the terrifying question of how far someone would go to protect their secrets, especially when the report implicates a respected figure whose public image stands in stark contrast to their private actions. At the same time, Chancellor follows a trail of inconsistencies that lead him to a shocking discovery. Someone within law enforcement has been altering evidence, redirecting investigations, and protecting a shadowy figure whose reach extends into every major family in Genoa City. And as Chance digs deeper, he realizes that exposing the truth could cost him his badge, his freedom, and possibly his life. Back at the Newman ranch, an explosive confrontation erupts when Victoria accuses Victor of orchestrating events that put Nikki in danger, drawing a line she refuses to cross any longer. And for the first time, Victor is forced to reckon with the possibility that his iron grip on his family may finally be breaking, especially when Nikki, shaken but resolute, demands answers about the night she can't remember and the choices Victor may have made on her behalf without her consent. Meanwhile, Adam makes a desperate move, striking a risky alliance with someone who once swore to destroy him, believing that survival now depends on outthinking both his enemies and his own blood, while Chelsea watches helplessly, fearing that Adam's choices will once again place Connor in the crosshairs of a war he never asked to be part of. As night falls over Genoa City, the pieces begin to collide when a high-stakes meeting is called under the guise of damage control, drawing the Newmans, the Abbotts, and key players from Chancellor Winters into the same room, where accusations fly, alliances fracture, and a single piece of evidence is revealed that changes everything. A document bearing multiple signatures, proof of a decades-old conspiracy that implicates nearly every powerful family in town, forcing them to confront the horrifying reality that their current crisis is the result of choices made long ago, choices that cannot be undone. And just when it seems the room might implode under the weight of truth, sudden interruption sends shockwaves through everyone present. A warrant is issued, a name is read aloud, and one of Genoa City's most prominent figures is taken into custody as stunned silence falls and the year threatens to end not with celebration but with sirens, shattered loyalties, and the chilling certainty that 2026 will bring consequences unlike anything Genoa City has ever faced, because on this night, as secrets finally bleed into the open, no one is innocent, no one is safe, and the war for Genoa City has truly begun. As the echo of the arrest reverberates through the room and the stunned silence thickens into something almost unbreathable, Genoa City begins to fracture at the seams, because the moment that prominent figure is led away in handcuffs does not bring relief but instead ignites a chain reaction of fear, fury, and desperate damage control, with Victor Newman standing stone-faced yet internally raging as he calculates how many moves ahead the authorities truly are, knowing full well that the document revealed moments earlier is only the beginning of a far more devastating exposure. While Nikki collapses into a chair, her hands shaking uncontrollably as fragments of memory begin crashing back, flashes of a confrontation, a voice urging her to leave, the sound of tires screeching, and Victor's face hovering above her afterward, not with concern but with command, forcing her to finally question whether the man she has defended for decades may have crossed a line that can never be erased. Meanwhile, Victoria retreats into ruthless efficiency, already contacting attorneys and board members as she quietly prepares for the possibility that Newman Enterprises itself may become collateral damage. Yet beneath her composed exterior simmers a profound betrayal as she realizes that her father's secret strategies may have placed her children, her marriage, and her future at risk, pushing her closer than ever to a decision she once swore she would never make, turning against Victor publicly. Across town, Nick spirals between anger and guilt as he replays Sharon's warning, now understanding that the anonymous tip was only one thread in a vast web. And when he confronts Victor later that night demanding the truth about Nikki, the argument erupts into one of the most volatile father-son clashes in years, culminating in Nick accusing Victor of treating the women in his life like expendable assets, words that strike deeper than any corporate betrayal and leave Victor shaken despite his refusal to show it. At the same time, Adam's risky alliance begins to bear dangerous fruit as he meets secretly with a figure from his past, who reveals that the conspiracy reaches back to a night when records were altered, accidents were staged, and lives were quietly ruined to protect powerful names. And Adam is forced to confront the horrifying possibility that his own existence has been manipulated as part of a larger chess game, pushing him to consider whether the only way to survive is to expose everything, even if it destroys the Newman legacy forever. Meanwhile, Chelsea senses the storm closing in and takes matters into her own hands, quietly moving Connor out of town under the guise of a holiday trip, terrified that the escalating war will make her son a pawn, yet unaware that her actions are being watched by someone who has been tracking Newman movements with unsettling precision. Over at the Abbott mansion, Jack struggles to sleep as Diane's panic reaches a breaking point, and when she finally confronts him about what she overheard, Her desperation reveals just how deeply entangled she once was in the very cover-up now threatening to explode, forcing Jack to choose between protecting the woman he loves and doing what he knows is morally right, a choice that echoes painfully with past mistakes that nearly destroyed him. Billy, unraveling fast, turns to alcohol as the pressure mounts, convinced that history is repeating itself and that once again he will be sacrificed to protect more powerful players. And when Lily confronts him with the truth, that she may be forced to distance herself professionally to save Chancellor Winters, Billy hears it as abandonment, setting the stage for a devastating emotional rupture that neither of them is prepared for. Elsewhere, Devon's investigation into the internal leak leads him to a chilling discovery that someone close has been feeding information not for money but out of fear, revealing that the real power behind the conspiracy has been using intimidation and blackmail to maintain control for years, a realization that leaves Devon questioning how many lives have been quietly manipulated to keep the truth buried. As Chance continues his off-the-books investigation, he uncovers proof that the altered evidence trails back to a sealed case involving a supposed accidental death, one that connects multiple families and raises the horrifying possibility that someone in Genoa City is not just corrupt but capable of murder. And as Chance confides in Abby, their bond is tested by the danger his pursuit now brings to their doorstep. Meanwhile, Sharon faces consequences of her own as word spreads that she cooperated with authorities, and although she insists she did it to protect her children and prevent further harm, she becomes a target of whispered accusations and thinly veiled threats, forcing her to stand stronger than ever even as old wounds are ripped open. Mariah and Tessa, shaken by the resurfaced report, demand answers from someone they once trusted implicitly, and when that person's reaction is not denial but silence, the weight of betrayal crashes down with devastating clarity, leaving Mariah questioning whether truth is worth the pain it inevitably brings. Back at Newman Enterprises, a sudden boardroom coup attempt sends shockwaves through the company as shareholders panic and rivals circle like vultures, and Victoria is forced into a brutal power play that pits her directly against Victor, culminating in a vote that could strip him of control, a moment years in the making that carries consequences no one can fully predict. As night deepens, Adam makes his move, leaking a carefully selected piece of information to the press that confirms the existence of a decades-old cover-up without revealing its architects, triggering a media firestorm that engulfs Genoa City and forces law enforcement to accelerate their investigation. While Victor realizes with cold clarity that his son has chosen war, Nikki, unable to live with uncertainty any longer, demands a private meeting with Chance, prepared to tell him everything she remembers, even the parts that could implicate her husband, marking a quiet but monumental shift in her loyalty as she finally chooses truth over protection. And as the episode draws toward its devastating climax, a mysterious figure watches the chaos unfold from the shadows, listening to police scanners and scrolling through headlines with grim satisfaction, knowing that the families tearing themselves apart are finally doing the work that was planned years ago, because the ultimate goal was never money or power but revenge. And as Genoa City braces for what comes next, it becomes chillingly clear that the worst revelations are still to come. Alliances will not survive the truth, and the past is no longer content to stay buried. It is rising, and it is hungry. As dawn creeps over Genoa City, the fallout from the night before settles like ash after an explosion, leaving relationships scorched and illusions shattered, because the truth, once unleashed, refuses to be contained. And Nikki sits alone at the Newman Ranch staring at the first light of morning with tears streaming down her face as she finally accepts that the life she fought so hard to protect may have been built on lies, while Victor, standing just beyond the doorway, realizes with chilling clarity that the woman he has always considered his greatest ally may now be his greatest liability. Meanwhile, Chance begins the slow, methodical process of unraveling the conspiracy, knowing that every step forward brings him closer to exposing not just a crime but a culture of silence that has ruled Genoa City for decades. And when he quietly tells Nick and Sharon that more arrests are imminent, the weight of inevitability crushes what little hope remains. At Newman Enterprises, Victoria delivers a calculated blow by assuming temporary control, insisting it is the only way to stabilize the company. Yet her victory tastes bitter as she watches her father retreat into isolation, a king finally forced to confront the cost of his empire. Adam, alone and haunted, listens to the news coverage he helped ignite and wonders whether burning the legacy that defined him will ultimately set him free, or condemn him forever, while Chelsea holds Connor close, silently praying that the storm will pass without claiming her son. Across town, Jack and Diane stand at a crossroads as Jack makes it clear that no more secrets can survive, forcing Diane to face the consequences of choices she once justified as survival, and Billy, sober but broken, begins to understand that redemption will not come through defiance but accountability. Devin and Lily brace Chancellor Winters for impact, united by necessity if not certainty, as they prepare to confront whoever has been pulling the strings. From the shadows, and Mariah and Tessa choose honesty over comfort, even as it reopens wounds they may never fully heal. Finally, as sirens wail in the distance and a breaking news alert flashes across every screen in Genoa City announcing a new indictment tied to the decades-old cover-up, a familiar name appears, one no one expected, sending shockwaves through every household and proving that no reputation is untouchable, no past unforgivable, and no future guaranteed, because as the year ends, in handcuffs, heartbreak, and reckoning, Genoa City stands on the edge of a new era where power will be stripped bare, love will be tested beyond endurance, and the truth, no matter how long it was buried, has finally claimed its due.